Are you stuck? How about unhappy? Join Alena Chapman, author, mentor, and life coach for Magical Moments with Alena as she challenges you to get out of the doldrum and start living your life to the fullest. In just 60 minutes, Alena will help you take control of your life and push you to do the things you never thought you'd do. So get ready to take back your power and celebrate life with Magical Moments featuring Alena Chapman.
Welcome to Magical Moments, and I'm your host, Alena Chapman, and as you know, guys, it's all about that ease and flow in our lives, and we so need that. I'll tell you, my magical nugget I have been thinking about, this hit me about, last week, and I've been just kind of observing people. You know, it's really funny. I was raised that you don't show your emotions. Yeah, I know it's hard to believe, isn't it, if you know me at all? But this thing about if you're angry, if you're sad, my dad used to say that you don't cry now, you cry later, right now you fight through it. And that's how I was raised. Now, okay, so then I grew up and I'm doing what I'm told. I'm doing what I was always taught, and it had always served me, to be the tough little soldier. And then I found something very interesting. I was conducting choirs at that time, and I was in the music, and I was extremely busy, way too many jobs. But I loved what I was doing, so it really didn't bother me. But this is the thing. When I was upset, I would stuff it down. And I know you know what I mean. I know you know what I mean. That when you stuff it down deep, it just kind of lays in your gut. And this is what happens. It would start coming out. So if I was angry at something and I stuffed it way down, it would start coming out in little ways. The sarcasm. I call it popcorn. That's what I call it. It comes out like popcorn, and it just like comes out in sarcasm, or it comes out a little harsh when you talk to that person and you don't even know where that came from, or you find yourself being really cynical about what's going on in life, or you're at the stoplight and you're swearing at the car in front of you. These little things, and it's all popcorn. It comes out pop, 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 and meanwhile it's simmering inside. So when I learned more, I learned that honoring myself. Now, it doesn't always come at opportune times, but I still honor it. I let it out. Because if you don't let it out, it'll eat you. It eats you in every part of your body, your mind. It closes you off to your own soul. And I really honestly believe that energy that surrounds you, it clogs it up. It feeds it negative. If anybody has had an aural light photo, I know some people are saying, what is that? Well, look it up. Because what it does is it does the energy around you, the colors of the energy around you. And when you're really mad inside or really sad and you're holding it in, the colors will alter. If you're angry, well, sometimes it's also if you're really feeling excited and passionate. But sometimes when you're angry, it can turn red. I really think it turns darker red. But we've got a doctor here we're going to talk to about all that. But this is the thing that really is important. We can't honor ourselves if we don't honor all of ourselves. And if we don't honor ourselves, folks, we don't honor other people because we don't have it. You can't give what you don't have. So how do you honor yourself? You allow yourself to feel. Now, I'm not saying you go and punch the face of the person who's driving you crazy. I'm not, I could just, Alena said, and you punch, no, don't go there, folks. Do not go there. However, what you do is you allow yourself to vent it out somehow. I know a lot of you probably know that my mom did die on the 22nd of this month. And and I have a load of stuff. It actually was a very interesting moment. I have always dealt with the other side of when people die. I have never helped people actually pass, the actual passing. That was one of the things that was the new experience for me. It was a very new experience. I'm still processing it. It was very cool, but kind of shocking. I'll come back with that because that's a good thing for us to talk about someday. But this is the thing. I really had to, I thought I was doing fine with it. I deal with this every day. But then all of a sudden, I put on, my intuition knew better than me. And it said, turn on the drums, the Native American healing drums. Now, why I did that, I don't know. I just felt like I needed it. And I turned it on and I was driving, had the makeup on, looked beautiful, yep. And I'm driving in the car and all of a sudden, those drums just put a string around my heart. It's just like, oh my God. And I just felt myself just tearing up. It was starting to release something deep inside. The grief was starting to come. Now, did I just say, oh my God, my mascara? No, I didn't, folks. I pulled over to a parking lot and I allowed that beautiful piece to allow me to open up to my grief. And I honored it. And that's one of the best gifts I could have given myself because it finally let it all out. You unplug that bottle and you let it out. With anger, you can let it out. Writing a letter, you can write it. I love to run. Or I love to do something very physical to get rid of that extra anger in me. And I love to, I'll yell at a statue or something if I really feel it. I don't feel that very often anymore. But when I do, I allow myself to feel that. We have to honor ourselves enough to open up and let it out. That's energy, that's negative energy stored in us. So that's my nugget. Think about how you're not honoring. What are you shoving down? What are you finding that comes out like popcorn? You're like, where did that come from? Why was I so snide? Why was I so mean there? That's not me. What's going on? And start to explore what is going on inside yourself and allow it to honor yourself enough to give yourself time to process it and let it out. Okay? Now, I have a fabulous guest here today. He is kind of a holistic, also Eastern medicine, chiropractic. He has a little mix of everything. That's why I like him. He's not just one way of doing things, but he knows a lot about energy. And his name is Dr. David Vargas. And he is, I think you're going to like it. We're going to talk a lot about energy. And I'm going to see where I can get him to go. But I'm very excited about this guest. And if you're interested in energy and how it works inside our bodies, outside our bodies, and how we can keep it clean, I got you started right now. I really do, Dr. Vargas, think that when our outside energy is clogged, it affects our bodies also. It goes, it's
definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to get him on. So, Dr. Vargas, hello.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
I love having you. Let's talk a little bit about, first of all, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself? Give a little bit of feedback. Why did you even want to go into this line of work? This is not easy work.
I think it was basically spirit that was calling me to do this. I think it's my life calling. And the reason why is because I was being led to it. In certain ways, in school, there was something that I took a course. I was always interested in the power of the thought, power of mind, hypnosis, those kinds of things. Yeah. And I was thought about going into hypnosis originally.
That's cool.
And I find that fascinating. And it's just that power of the mind that, we can actually have physical changes by using our thoughts and our mind. Yeah. And they've shown that even with people, believe it or not, can actually get rid of warts sometimes by
their mind.
Hypnosis. Yeah, it sounds crazy. That's just an extreme type of thing.
That's cool.
So when I was in school, I was trying to decide what I wanted to go into. I knew it was something to deal with health and energy and these kinds of things. And chiropractic came up as I took a test from a career counselor. Chiropractic came up as the number one choice. And I was like, what do chiropractors do? And then we've never had been to a chiropractor before in my family. I came from a family of 10 kids.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm number 8.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
10 kids.
Yeah. So basically, didn't really think a whole lot about it. Took another test the next semester, came up with the same thing. I was like, I need to start looking into this. So I started talking to chiropractors down in Bloomington at IU, where I went to school, and found that I really liked what they were doing, working with actually helping the body to heal itself,
Yes.
rather than just giving medicines and drugs and covering up the symptoms, which,
Yes.
it was more of a vitality from the inside out to help the body to heal itself.
That, you bring up a good point. It does. I mean, I always thought of Western medicine as you go when there's an emergency to stabilize yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the real health.
Right.
It's not something that is going to get you to where you want to be, it's the same thing with psychology. I once had a psychologist, not just a psychologist. She was actually the head of the board of psychology.
Okay.
So we're going a little bit higher. But she said, Alena, the thing is, you are after I work with them. The whole job of all Western medicine and psychology is to get them to where they're functioning in life. But you get them past that, where they're happy in life, or where they're connected in life, or whatever it is that you do. But you don't go back. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing with what you do, isn't it? It's healing from the inside.
It's healing from the inside, and it's really looking to find out what's the root cause, what's going on. There's a place for Western medicine, definitely, for emergency room. If I was in a car accident, had a spleen that was ruptured, I definitely would not want to go to the hospital. Or if I had, something else going on that was more critical or more crisis situation.
Right.
But like you said, they're not really getting to the cause most of the time.
Yes.
They're just treating the symptoms. And so, talking about even with psychology, and, that goes to one of my talks that I'm going to be doing soon, actually at Unity Church this month.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
I'll come.
Yeah, it's March
That's
the
very
22nd, and I believe it's March 23rd, and then 27th.
Okay.
And we're going to be talking about the gut and brain connection, because that is so important with the psychology.
Yeah.
Because there is actually research now that's showing that how our gut is, the health of our gut, affects our mental health.
Interesting.
So there's I was just looking at some statistics last night. There's 1 in 9 adults right now, I believe, that suffer from depression. And so that's millions and millions of people. So what's going on with that?
Yeah.
Our guts, basically we have a ganglion of nerves in our guts that makes approximately 90% of the serotonin in our body. So what does serotonin do? It makes us feel good, makes us feel happy.
Yeah.
So if we have all these toxins in our gut and throughout our body, we can have things like parasites. We can have bacterial overgrowth. We have fungal overgrowth, viral overgrowth that can cause all kinds of symptoms between, how you feel, depression, and even affect our thoughts. And our energy, and that's what I wanted to talk more about also, is how our thoughts and our energy are affected by these toxins, by our environment.
Yeah, yeah.
So this ganglion of nerves in our intestinal system affects everything in our body. And so, that's one of the things that we usually focus on initially, is finding out where those toxins are being held to be able to get those toxins out of your body. But, I mentioned earlier too that one of the things that we work on is actually helping to find out where those toxins are being held, in the organs. What organs are being held in the toxins, so that we can actually clear that out. But I mentioned earlier that every one of our cells has a central sun. So our cells are basically like a microsystem of our macro system. We have a sun. We have the solar system.
What is the sun? I mean, you've got the cell. We all know, I have said, there is a little vortex of energy in every cell that vibrates, and the mind controls the vibration. Now, but is that the sun? What is the sun?
The sun is it's a light energy within the cell.
It's probably the energy.
It's the energy within the cell. It could be the chi. It could be the energy that we're all connecting to.
Yeah.
Every one of these millions and trillions of cells that we have in our body are communicating together, and also, I believe, communicating with spirit.
Yeah.
Of
course.
So
especially if it is energy, it's all one.
Exactly. So we have these cells that are toxic. They're not letting the light get through, obscuring the light.
Yes.
How is that going to communicate with each cell, for one? And second of all, those toxins over time can eventually become chronic issues.
So let's think about this. This is interesting. So if your little light, your energy, well, in Eastern medicine, they believe we only have so much chi, or so much prana, or so much energy. And so they're always feeding, they have all the movements to guide the energy, keep it free, keep it flowing. You know, that's what Tai Chi is and everything else. So, but if we're eating wrong or we're sick, that dims the light. And then we go spiritual. We're trying to connect spiritually, but we've dimmed our light. Do you see where I'm going?
Oh, yeah.
Now, I also want to go a little more interesting because, I mean, I've learned a lot. So say most Americans have parasites. Let's just face it, we do. Most of the world probably has parasites and we don't even know it. I don't say that like I know, folks, I would assume.
Sure.
So with parasites are a funny thing. They're not just these little things inside of you. They control you. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, the parasites, just to like the basic level of like what is going to feed, what feeds these parasites? A lot of times it's simple carbs and sugar. Okay. So just into the simplest level of like, hey, I don't want to eat sugar. I'm trying to avoid sugar. And then before you know it, it's like amnesia where you're going to grab some sugar because these organisms within you want to be fed.
So they are inside you saying, I'm hungry, feed me sugar.
I'm hungry, feed me sugar, and that's affecting your brain. Now, I think I mentioned to you a research study that was done with these cats and these mice. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Yeah.
But this research study that they did where they found that these cats, it was a whole symbiotic relationship, basically, between the cats and the mice.
Okay.
So basically the cats had to, the parasite had to get back to the cat in order to reproduce.
Okay.
So what they were finding, and I don't know how they ever came up with thinking about this experiment, but what they were finding was these mice that actually had the parasite would actually exhibit risky behavior that the other mice did not exhibit, that would get them caught by the cat to be able to reproduce that parasite.
In the cat.
But
gosh.
the you know, I don't think the mouse wanted to be killed.
No.
You know, but it was
controlling.
something in that parasite was controlling the behavior of that mouse to get it caught so it could reproduce, that parasite could reproduce.
It's so ignorant of us to think that, oh, it's a parasite, and just shut it off at that. It's a dumb parasite. It's a worm. It's a whatever it is. I don't know. There's so many different parasites in the world. But whatever it is, and just say, okay, I just got to get rid of it. I'll take that little thing and it's gone. But it is a thinking organism.
There's some consciousness or some kind of thinking to it that is.
If it's controlling my thoughts.
If it wants to like reproduce, right? What's the whole survival thing of all of us is we want to, food, shelter, and reproduce so we can continue on, right? So,
right. That's the whole goal of all life.
So that's,
oh my gosh.
Could be the same thing with these parasites or these different organisms. They want to continue to live also. And
so you're trying so hard, not you, but people, we're trying so hard to connect. We're trying so hard to get ourselves up into our higher self. And meanwhile, we're reaching for a cookie because we got a parasite that tells us to do so. Right. It's that simple, really, isn't it? Sure, yeah. And it breaks the connection because then your mind is on the cookie, or the mind, you keep getting these breaks. You can't, you're trying to do your job. You get breaks. You can't focus. Yeah, well, that's true, and it's the focus. But that is the ultimate thing, is the focus and energy. Because when we get these parasites in our system, the parasites give off toxins. And that's the other side. And that's the part that's affecting our brain, affecting our focus, affecting our energy. And the blood. By the blood, doesn't it? It goes through the blood. Yeah, it goes through the whole body. And the lymph. Yeah. So how are we going to be able to be clear focus, clear energy for our manifestation, to manifest things we want if we're all polluted, And it dims the light, doesn't it? It dims that light within it. Because it starves the cell. And the other part about that I was just looking at last night, again, rereading again, was what about these products that we use.
because they're very unique. They're made from stem cells of the plants. So some of these herbs been used from centuries back to Hippocrates. Something called Crataegus was used for heart issues. Okay, so they would use the actual juniper berry.
Yes.
Okay, which worked.
Yes.
But now with the gemotherapy, we use the juniper bud.
Really?
So it has these things called gibberins in it, which are basically stem cells of the plants, which stimulate our body for our organs to function. There's different ones for different parts of the body, but for our organs to function properly, to begin to get them to function properly, to rebuild them, and then also to clear out those toxins. But the other part of that too was when that's obscure, we've had this fear energy that's been passed down throughout the ages.
Fear energy has multiplied like you would not believe now. I mean, now we're on overload.
Right.
People are so afraid of even leaving their house.
Well, what about even with these toxins? Okay, so the author of this book that I'm reading on gemotherapy, he's talking about how these fears, how the toxins within our cells even creates more fear.
Sure it does.
So
because it's self-preservation. For the toxins, if you have a parasite, it's a self-preservation. And if it's just toxin, it just muddies everything. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so a little bit about that. We're talking about the body. We're talking about the energy. How does this affect our outer energy? Just us being filled with toxins.
All kinds of different ways. It can cause issues with focus, with attention deficit. Can cause problems with skin issues. If our body's trying to get rid of toxins out of our body and it can't get it out through the normal ways, through our bowel movements, through our kidneys, through our other ways of detoxing, then it's going to try to get it out through the skin. By the way, do you know what the number one organ is to get rid of toxins out of the body every day?
The skin?
No.
What?
The lungs.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So as we're breathing in that oxygen, we're breathing out those toxins. So that's why it's so important. And throughout history and Eastern medicine, I should say, they've talked about the breath. Being prana, being energy. And if you have the energy flowing in and flowing out, then you're going to be healthier and stronger.
It's when you stop breathing.
It's when you stop breathing. And so many people nowadays without masks are shallow breathers, aren't breathing properly. Yeah. Let alone with the mask to hold things. So that's a whole nother story.
I have a hard time with the mask. I have to be quite honest. I wear it, but I feel like I'm suffocating.
Well, you're not getting in that life energy. You're not getting in that prana like you should, or expelling your toxins.
That's what it is.
Yeah, that's a whole nother. That's a whole other subject.
Talk a little bit more about this, because our breath, our prana, you're bringing it. Now, see, I always say you're breathing in spirit. Spirit is omnipresent. Right. You're breathing it in.
Sure.
And so it's a precious thing. And it's funny, when my mom, when I was passing her over, I noticed it. I stopped breathing when she did. Isn't that interesting?
It is interesting.
There's something there I'm looking into. I actually stopped, and I didn't know I had stopped. It's actually like time stopped. It was the weirdest thing. And then I caught myself. But it is there's something there, and I'm going to look into that more and more. But it shows you that breath, how precious it is.
Oh, yeah.
And that spirit that's coming in. But let's talk about that breath a little bit, okay? So if we're bringing in that spirit, we're bringing in the energy. That's everything. Our breath is everything. It keeps everything alive in the spirit world and in your body. But so if we're bringing it into a healthy body, what does it really do? Let's go back to 101 here.
Oh, bringing in the breath into the healthy body? Well, just the basics of getting the good oxygen throughout our body for circulation.
For the blood?
For the blood to get the proper oxygen. Once again, the breath is prana. That's everything, Yeah. So it's doing all those things with getting the oxygen to our
feeds every cell,
heart, to our lungs, to all of our cells.
Our cells are happy and all lit up like suns.
Exactly.
Our everything is working normally. It is the fountain of life for us. Yeah. Well, it's spirit. So if you're breathing in spirit, of course it's going to be life. So then what happens when we're polluted?
Well, when we're polluted, we're getting that oxygen still, but it's not maybe getting where it needs to be as well. Maybe we're not getting, things are kind of plugged up. we're talking about spirit and energy, but, going back to the basics of even just the United States right now in our state of health, that's one of my missions, is to help people to realize that they can change their health, they can change their life, not only with their thoughts, but also what we're taking into our temple, into our body. So, if we're polluted, it's going to cause all kinds of different things going on with our system, and it can affect our our kidneys or our liver, affect all these different parts of our body. But once again, every one of those cells, it being toxic, is going to, they're not able to communicate as well.
It stops the flow in the body. It
stops the flow, and so that's one of the main things we work on, is actually energy flow. So one of the things that I'm always working on with people, whether it's through chiropractic or whether it's through acupuncture or whether it's through exercise and movement, is energy flow, making sure the energy is flowing properly from above down and inside out. So if we're not getting our proper, if we're out of alignment,
it doesn't flow.
It doesn't flow, and it doesn't allow spirit to flow either as well as it could.
Yeah. Okay, and I want to talk more about that after the break, because that's going to be long, and that's very important. I know where we're going with that, and I want to take it further.
Okay, great.
But I also want to talk in about 2 minutes' time, because that's what we have before break. I want to start the energy inside of us. For us to have clean energy outside, we have to have clean energy inside.
Right. Now,
and then if we want clean energy inside, we have to have clean energy outside.
Well, that's taking in,
That's a lot.
That's taking in, and energy is not just the foods that we eat, which is very important, taking in good, healthy foods, organic foods that aren't having, the pesticides, insecticides whenever possible. But also our thoughts are energy. So our thoughts are actually real things called biophotons that they've discovered that are actually, that it's actually a real thing. So our thoughts can affect ourselves, how we're thinking about ourselves, either positive or negatively, or other people.
Yeah.
So we've actually done some work with using energy work for healing other people, with doing it in groups too. We can talk about that at some point.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, before I get you too deep in, we're going to take a break. And we're really going to be talking about this. Folks, listen, this energy is so important. We're all trying to make ourselves, there's so many of us who are trying to connect. But if we are plugged up, or when you try to meditate and you can't do it, you know what I mean? You get your attention goes somewhere else.
Concentration.
The focus is gone. That is a plug. So we're going to be right back. You're listening to Magical Moments with Alena Chapman, and we have Dr. Vargas here.
Thanks for listening. Your weekend continues with Magical Moments featuring Alena Chapman right now.
Welcome back to Magical Moments. And guys, that you can't get better than having great energy to have that ease and flow in your life, for sure. We're here with Dr. Vargas, and I'll tell you what, we're learning about that energy. And it's not, I know what you're thinking in your heads. Oh my gosh, all this stuff I have to do. No. It's not. We're going to make it plain and simple. But first, we have to go through all the understanding of it. Now, and don't forget, Dr. Vargas is speaking. Tell them a little bit, Dr. Vargas, of where you're speaking.
I'm going to be speaking at Unity Church of Fort Wayne, Unity of Christ Church of Fort Wayne, and we're going to be doing a talk on gut and brain health, gut and brain connection. And that's going to be, I believe it's Tuesday, March the 23rd at 6:30. And Saturday, March the 27th I believe it's at 11 o'clock.
I'll be there. Yeah.
Great, awesome.
Join me, folks. This will be fun. Yeah.
And you can either contact our office to sign up.
And your office is?
It's Advanced Healing Center.
Advanced Healing Center.
And,
off of
Washington Center in Coldwater.
Yep.
And then also our website. You can go to our website, and that's drdavidvargas.com. And it's just DR, David. And Vargas is V as a victory, ARGAS.com. So check us out, and we also have something on there for a free consultation if somebody wants to talk to me about what's going on with them, and if I can help them or not, we can talk for a few minutes.
Cool. That's nice. All right, so now let's get back to this energy stuff. With all this, okay, so the energy, basically what we're trying to do, just like Eastern medicine basically, is to create healthy energy in our body where it flows. Now, I remember in Reiki, we had it more clockwise. When you're trying to feel the energy, you're going down and around, in a clockwise motion. You actually hold the feet of the person and you direct, you combine your energy to get that energy to go into this motion. Now, you gave me a little bit more on the break. So what is the optimum way that this wonderful energy should go through our bodies?
I think there's different ways because there's different systems. And so like some energies, some techniques may actually talk about being, as you're healthier, having expanded energy.
Yes, that's true.
So with the testing that I do with the pulse, I check the radio pulse. When somebody's healthier, their energy's more contained.
Well, also their thoughts.
Contained in their thoughts.
Because when you are not thinking good about yourself, or you're led by that critical mind, and you're always putting yourself down, your energy shrinks, doesn't it? Or when you're really sad or depressed.
It could definitely shrink, yeah. But I'm saying with the system I use, when the person's healthier, when I do a lot of ear acupuncture, that's what I mostly do.
Yes, I know.
And so when we have energy that's almost like spraying out of certain spots, I can feel it with the pulse where the energy is coming from. So let's say liver. So as I treat that point for liver, I give that person something for liver. It actually brings their energy in. But we were talking a little bit about the cells. And once again, that central sun within each one of the cells, which they're actually able to scientifically measure now, that each one of our cells actually has light that it emits.
Well, that makes sense, though. There is so much. The light I love. I never knew that, but I do know that they always said that each cell always had a little vortex of energy, which there was, oh gosh, what year was that? Oh, it was really early 1900s. They did this guy, they were trying to figure out what was the soul.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So they took 6 dead bodies. Yes, folks. Yes, we do that. And but they did them right before they died, actually. Okay. And every time he's got it, he even videotaped it. Every time they died, all of a sudden they would weigh exactly, what was it, 0.6 lighter. It's like
I didn't know that.
The prana left.
Wow, interesting.
Isn't that interesting? And that's probably that light in every single cell. I don't know. They're still trying to figure out what the soul is. The scientists, they're looking at this prana, this soul, whatever you call it. It's energy in our system.
Well, yeah, it's energy within our system. We have universal consciousness or universal energy or God consciousness.
Of course.
And then when it comes into our body, it becomes our innate consciousness, our innate energy, which controls all those things in our body that keeps our heart beating, keeps our lungs breathing, keeps our body hopefully eliminating toxins and things like that.
Yes.
And doing other things like that. So all those, but you were going back to talking about how they were trying to figure out like, hey, what is this?
Yeah, what is this?
And so when they actually discovered the electron microscope back whenever that was, they were looking at the cells, these individual cells, and they could see that when they looked at these cells, this is like a cell. This isn't like your whole.
Yes.
But how many cells does our body make up of? Trillions,
millions,
probably, right?
Yeah, it is.
So, but when they would look at these cells and they would look at the electrons and the photons, etc., they realized that when they would actually observe them, it would change. Just by us observing one tiny cell, that would affect that cell. Like it
one tiny cell.
It would actually, the photons, the electrons, etc., would change positions.
Right.
And they're like, each one of those cells has a consciousness or has some type of a...
And it doesn't move in unison.
It's not, somehow it wasn't, they could tell it was different when they were observing it rather than if it was just not being observed. So all of our cells are taking in that information. Every one of our cells is taking in this information from, once again, energy from our environment, energy from other people. Just like you can tell if you're with somebody who has a good energy or a negative energy. It's like... You
can right away.
I've said before, I have animals. And,
me too.
And so, my dog, if my dog, it only happened one time, but my dog didn't like somebody. And I'm like, there's got to be something. So, animals can pick up on that energy also.
Sometimes faster than us.
And if we're toned in, so many of us are so... told over the years as we're growing up that that's not real, that's not belief. So we start doubting ourselves. start doubting our intuition and our guidance, you know.
We do.
And so it's getting back to that guidance, getting back to that intuition.
It's getting back to the I.
Getting back to the I.
It really is. And that takes time, but it is getting back. The I, what I'm talking about is the very first chakra, our chakra at the bottom of our tailbone, basically that area. And when we're born, that's the root chakra and the root chakra. Mm-hmm. And when we are born, there are scientists now, early childhood development scientists, who are trying to figure out when we turn from the I to the we, because that's what happens in that chakra. The I is when we're born, we know who we are, we're fresh, we're souls, guys. You know, we are souls, or we're spirit, or we're energy, whatever you want to call it, but we are something before we enter this body. Mm-hmm. And when we come into this body, all of a sudden, you get this, you're conscious. I mean, you are that soul. I saw it with my middle son, James. When my middle son was born, I swear to God, I looked at him and he looked at me like, I'm here. and he was only a day old, and that kid is trying to crawl up like a monkey on my shoulder. What baby does that? And he would always surprise me. He was always trying to pull the wool over my eyes. You know, I think he was asleep, and then he'd wake up and he'd say, surprise, you know, with his eyes. And he was so vitally alive. He was not just a little baby. He was a little soul inside that baby. And it knows what it is. So, okay, we all are like that. And then what happens is we start to explore, and we start doing, and we get started flooded with our world, our parents, our TVs, our friends, our every experience. And we are like little sponges, and we just soak it all up.
Oh, yeah.
But then scientists are studying, okay, you soak that all up, but when do you leave the I behind and you become the we, which means, when do you forget where you really are from? When do you forget who you truly are, and you become part of society? And it's very interesting, and they say that it's about 3 or 4.
Interesting. Yeah, I think I've heard the same thing too.
Yeah.
But you know, one other thing with that too is, like, even when the baby is a fetus in the mother's body, they're still taking in information.
Yes,
so now they know that scientifically too. You know, through research that, you know, if the mother goes through some kind of trauma or has something going on, that the baby can actually take that on. And, you know, there's that consciousness that's always taking in all this information.
The baby takes on everything the mother does. I mean, everything you watch, you eat, it really does. It's really freaky. I experienced that. It is, like, my 2 sons love scary movies. Do you know why? Because that's what I
did. Okay.
And the one that I didn't watch doesn't like them.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. I'm telling you.
Maybe they got that adrenaline rush, or
got something.
Endorphins or whatever that were released when you were screaming at the
I don't
scary
scream.
movie.
I find it fun.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, so it is interesting. It is very interesting. And one loves classical music. And why? Because he was in my tummy, my 2 sons, in my tummy as I was conducting choirs.
Oh, yeah.
You
so,
know?
That's a whole nother thing. Like, you know, putting good things into the body, you know, positive energy, and, you know, whether the mother talks or classical music or whatever, you know, but that's all, you know, once again, we're taking in all that information all the time. It's just is amazing to me. But there's things, once again, also with even emotional things that can be held in different parts of our body, even from not only from our early days of childhood, but even in the womb.
Yeah.
From that. And like you said, you're talking about, like, spirit, you know, coming into the body. When does it actually individualize into
the fetus
or into the individual person versus, so, you know,
I know.
That's a
it is
very interesting question.
But when we're talking about energy, well, it's the energy we're giving the fetus. But guys, listen, if you're giving the fetus bad energy, well, I know a lot of men won't experience that, but still, just the idea of something else, then what are you giving yourself?
Right, yeah.
And it's all one. It's all one. All right. So let's talk a little bit more about this energy and talk a little bit about, because I know you do the light thing with energy, right?
We have a machine that checks 52 major parts of your body. I don't know if you've experienced that yet. It's called the biopulsar.
Yeah.
But basically, you put your hand on it. It's 90% accurate. Comes from Germany. And it basically marries together science and spirituality. So it takes, if there's an organ out of balance,
that makes sense.
Then it can actually have to do with something emotional, either that's going on now or that's gone on in the past. So it gives us an aura, like you were talking about, a view of what the body is, the energy field, of what's going on with the energy field.
Yeah.
And then it gives us readings on each individual organ, 52 major parts of your body anyway, and also your chakras. So what we're finding right now, a lot of times with the chakras, we were talking about the root chakra earlier, and that's each different chakra relates to a different color also.
Right.
So the root relates to red. But what I'm finding a lot of times are people are low on the root chakra, and that has to do with moving forward in life.
It's our whole foundation.
And it has to do with our hips too.
Yeah.
So propelling us forward in life, our whole foundation.
It's our whole foundation.
About,
it's what we're built on.
Making decisions, moving forward. So if our root chakra is off balance or weak, then it's a lot of times going to make us indecisive or not feeling that we're moving forward in life.
Because the root chakra is our foundation to ourselves and our world. It's how we view ourselves and our world.
Right.
So everything goes back to the root chakra.
Right.
And it's funny, if you go up through the chakras, if the root chakra is not right, you can't get up through the others. You know, you can't process.
Sure.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So
it's cleaning up. Okay. So I come to you and I'm just totally polluted. Okay? I do all this. I've got everything. I've got the parasites. I've got I'm just clogged. My energy is clogged. And, I'm the person who's scared to come because I know I'm going to be loaded up with stuff and it's going to be too much. It's too much for me to handle. Is it really that hard to unpollute yourself?
It's not that hard, but it does take time because it's taken us time to get polluted. So it is a process because we're always taking in, or we're always being exposed to these toxins in our environment, in the air, in the water. So it's not a one-time thing. It's what we want to do.
It sounds hopeless, doctor.
Oh, no, it's not hopeless at all. So basically, but I'm just saying it's not just, we want to get things moving.
Yeah.
So the first thing we want to do is basically get things moving in your body. So
and
get the organs.
What do you mean?
Get the organs working properly. So the major organs of detoxification are the liver, the kidneys, the intestinal system, the lungs. So those are some of the major areas of detoxification. So sometimes they're not working properly. So we have to get those working properly. A lot of times with the gemotherapies that I mentioned, and or homeopathic remedies. So our first thing is to get the toxins moving out, get the organs working properly. Because if we don't, then things can get even more clogged up and cause more problems.
Now, why can't I just change my eating habits?
That would be huge, and that's a part of it also. It's changing your eating habits. But that doesn't necessarily get rid of these organisms that are in your system or able to totally clean out your system. Now, fasting could be a part of that also, about helping clean out our body, along with the gemotherapies, or even some people just do fasting by itself. You've heard of intermittent fasting or other types of fasting. So that's another way to help clean out your system.
How long should you fast? I once did the Essenes way back in, way back with pharaohs and everything. The Essenes, the light workers, they were the Brotherhood of Light, before Christianity actually. They used to do these fasts for 7 days. And when Jesus first came, according to them, he came upon people who were very polluted, and he said, you need to fast for 7 days. Now, is that normal? Do we do that in our society anymore? And what would that do? That would reset your system totally, wouldn't it?
Well, I think it would. It's just, it'd be difficult for a lot of people to do 7 days, even 3 days.
I've done that.
I'm not a fasting expert, but I know somewhat about the intermittent fasting, which is doing it a few days a week or eating for certain periods of time.
It's like, skipping breakfast and lunch, having dinner, and then going,
you're only eating for like a certain 8-hour period, and then the other parts, so your body gets a chance to. So there's different ways of fasting, and I think that could definitely be helpful, even a 1-day fast.
Yeah.
But it's just going to depend on the
Most shaman do
person.
3 days.
It's going to depend on the person
That's
and their health
interesting.
too, because somebody who's diabetic maybe cannot fast.
You
know?
always have to talk to your doctor
Yeah,
before you do
yeah,
anything.
yeah. You want to do that before you
Yeah.
do anything, more serious like that. But just some of the
Yeah.
intermittent fasting could be helpful. So
Yeah.
we're talking about some of these, these products and how we, so the person's not overwhelmed.
Yes.
So we try to start off where, once again, there's a system to it, so that we're actually finding out where the toxins are being held, what organs are being held the most toxins, targeting those organs to get them to work properly, getting body, drinking more water, eating better foods, so that the body can actually have a chance to clean itself out. But you said, hey, why can't I just eat better? And I have lots of people eat really well, and I'm surprised that they actually have some of these things going on, even with as well as they eat. But it's not just, even with the parasites, we can get them from eating some sushi. We have animals.
Oh, I love sushi.
We could get them from animals if we have animals around
Yeah,
the house,
yeah.
So it's not like we have a unhealthy lifestyle or anything like that necessarily, or we have a dirty house or anything like that. It's that we can bring them in from all kinds of things, including, like, one of the things that we test for also is heavy metals. So what can heavy metals
We all
do?
have
They can
that.
affect our brain, how our thoughts are, how we think. We can affect our kidneys and our bladder, affect all kinds of different parts of our body, including, our memory.
Yes.
So, we have ways to clean out, find out if you have these heavy metals, and then actually help the body to detox,
Would be
get those out of your
interesting.
system.
It would be interesting to do a study to find out if heavy metals have increased, because focus of people has gone down. Now they blame it on computers, but is it computers totally? Because we
Well-
used to have TV. They used to call that, I'm not even going to say the word, but I'll get bleeped. But we used to think the TV it was like the computer, but yet our focus has gone down even from then.
Well,
So what is it?
it can be environment. It could be, like, even with
Could be the heavy
with
metals.
fluoride in the water.
Fluoride in
I'm
water.
finding that a lot of people, I'm finding people who even eat healthy lives, maybe that have never been vaccinated, who don't use aluminum cookware and this and that. They have metal. They have aluminum. I'm finding a lot of aluminum when I do my testing.
Really?
Yeah, when I do my lab testing. And so I'm
Why
like,
is that?
they're asking me, hey, how am I getting this aluminum? Well, I just read a study that was saying with fluoride makes you more vulnerable to absorb aluminum.
Really?
So you're getting this fluoride in your water, which isn't really good for us anyway.
Right.
But then somehow it's making us more. So that could be one of the
Absorbing.
links. Yeah, that could be one of the links of how we're absorbing, some of those things. But, it's just like the United States, we're talking about spirituality, but even to get to that part of spirituality, to be able to be the best we can, we're United States population is 5% of the world population, but we
Yes.
consume 50% of the medications, the pharmaceutical drugs.
That is something.
Isn't that
Yeah,
crazy?
yeah,
and
that
then
is
and then
something.
even though
I
we
know.
spend all this money on medication and drugs and all these
We're
other things,
Having the hardest
we're ranked
time.
number 37th in the world as far as health care.
Isn't
So there's
that
36
something?
other countries that are healthier, according to the World Health Organization, than the United States.
So why do you think that is? What is it?
Well,
What
I
we're
think
doing?
it's just, things that we're doing with food, the foods that we're eating. There's, the fast foods. It's so easy to go grab something with bread.
But that's
you know?
everywhere now too.
Yeah. Well, that's why the rest of the world is starting to
McDonald's was
come.
coming in.
Yeah.
They're trying to catch up with us.
So it can be, the things in the food, the
Hamburger
things
King, all
that
the
our
fast
food
food.
supply.
Yeah.
If you're getting antibiotics in your food supply, if you're getting GMOs, you're getting other things like that. The good thing about it, though, is that according to Yale University, 70% of these chronic degenerative diseases, including cancer, are due to lifestyle. So there's hope that we can change, we can change our lifestyle. We can change the things that we're eating. We can change the things we're doing, the way we're thinking, so that we can be healthier
We can
and
be in
then
control of our thinking.
and we
Yeah.
can control and then go to
Yeah.
these higher levels of consciousness, higher levels of healing, higher levels of creating and
Interesting.
manifesting what we want with our health in our life.
Yes, but we got to clean ourselves up first.
Exactly.
So tell us where we can get to you again. You are the founder of Advanced
Advanced
Healing.
Healing Center.
And you're going to be speaking where again?
I'm going to be speaking at Unity Church of Christ,
I'll be there.
and that is March the 23rd at 6:30 in the evening.
It's Tuesday, yeah.
And then a Saturday for people who can't make it in the evening. We're going to have a Saturday one at I believe it's at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
And people can either call my office at 260-422-9580 or go on to our website, which is drdavidvargas.com.
Okay.
And we also have on there a little link you can click on if you want to contact us or if you want to sign up for a free consultation to discuss what's going on with you and if it's the right place for you or not, you know?
Awesome. See, that's cool. He doesn't bite. All right. And then, guys, I wanted to also let you know in Soul Manifesto, we are having a wonderful group called Soul Talk. Now, what is that all about? That is starting to understand your higher self. That is starting to understand how do we connect? How do we control those critical thoughts that we have about ourselves? How do we control those so that we can start to connect to the higher self and hear the small voice inside of us? So how do we do that? And we make it simple. It's not like it's rocket science, but it is something that we can do. And it's a fun group because Soul Talk, it's a discussion group. So we've got people in there that are of all backgrounds.
Wow.
And they just really bring in what they know. And it's fun. It's fun because there's always more than one way to do something. There's always more than one way to peel an onion. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love. I love to learn as much as I love to teach. So that's Soul Talk. And if you're interested, you got to go to soulmanifesto.com and sign up. The other thing is, oh my gosh, if you really want to learn from some of the top experts that I'm having, I got together Inevitable You. Again, it's to get to that true, incredible part of you that is the true you and live authentically and happily. Then that's Inevitable You. And I was just looking at that program. Some of the people on there, it's so cool. Like, for instance, how do you know if you are a consumer or a creator? How that is really cool. Do you know? How do you know if you are creating these toxins inside of you with the people you're with? Are you? There are so many things that we are doing, and these incredible experts that I have aligned to help you clear out that mental stuff. Dr. Vargas does the body. I'm doing the mental stuff. You get that stuff out of you. And oh my gosh, what blooms is you. So that's Inevitable You. So you might want to check that out too. But most of all, guys, it's time for you to take control of you. Take a control. And in this year, in everything that's changing, it's a commitment to yourself, to honor yourself. Process those emotions. Don't be one of the quiet ones that just complain or let it come out like popcorn. Let it just expect it. Let it go. Release it. Get it out of the energy field. Stop polluting the energy field so that then when you want to find you, you're right there. Okay? As always, guys, spirit is love. Love. Spirit is nothing but love. And the more we can open up ourselves to the love inside of ourselves, the love of spirit, the more that we can really get ourselves to say, oh my gosh, this is a different world, then we are totally with spirit. And I'll tell you what, there is no better place to be. No better place to be. And that is the true essence of getting that ease and flow in your life. There really is no other way. And there's no little tiny red pill or blue pill. You got to make the commitment. You got to do the work. Is it hard? No. Everyone says that. You know, they always say the work is hard. It's not. Because every step you take is like you're unfolding a flower. You know, you're unfolding a flower. It's really cool. So take a look at soulmanifesto.com and join us in Soul Talk to begin. Until that time, friends, start looking at the things that we're eating. Start looking at what we're listening to. Start looking at what we're going around with. Start to take control over your life. Start to design your own life. We all love you. This is Magical Moments, and I always want to wish you great connection. Namaste.
This has been Magical Moments with Alena, featuring Alena Chapman. If you missed an episode, download it now on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, CastBox, Deezer, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast platform. Learn more online at soulmanifesto.com.
Podcasts by Federated Media.